I grew up in retail. I spent a ton of time in retail. It's what I knew. So going into the business, I felt very comfortable opening a retail store, and we approached it from it was going to be a model of we were going to buy from the best brands and put together this awesome product mix and just sell it out of the store. Um, and then one day we decided to run a marketing promotion to where if people came into the store and spent $100, we were going to give them a free shop T-shirt that we had printed at a local printer. Um, we opened the store that morning, and out of the first 7 or 10 people, 3 guys came in and they're like, "Well, I don't really want to spend $100, but I really like that T-shirt. Can I just buy one?" And that started this whole journey of, well, man, people like the brand for the store that we've created. Um, maybe we've done something very unintentional here. So, over the course of 10 years, there's been this experience of just, our fantastic customers constantly pulling and saying, we want more of Salt Pine's product.
That Entrepreneur Show, we are back with another incubator bonus episode. Vincent A. Lanci here, excited to deliver another show with a great person I met, reconnected with at the New Venture Expo. And what are we talking about today? Oh, we've got a lot to cover. How time is not only our non-renewable resource, but success does not look the same for everyone. You have to remember to fill your cup so you can pour into others. And that's what Andrew Smith has done as the visionary founder behind Salt Pines, a lifestyle brand that seamlessly blends coastal charm with timeless style. He was born right here in the heart of Tampa Bay with a deep-rooted connection to the sea, and his passion for retail paved the way for creating this company. Thank you so much for taking the time to join that Entrepreneur Show.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here, Vincent. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I'm excited to even dive into some of the latest stuff we're working on. We just talked about behind the show how on this Friday, as we're recording, work piled up a little more than he wanted for the weekend, but he's got some exciting stuff in the works. So stay tuned for that. But if it is your first time joining us, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit with us today. This is the #1 podcast for small business owners, entrepreneurs, and high achievers. Each week since 2019, an entrepreneur has come on to share their story, including their lessons learned, not just all of the wins. So stay tuned for a lot of level up nuggets today. Andrew, I want to date back to when you started this company. What led you to become an entrepreneur?
Uh, Entrepreneurship was something that kind of started at a very young age for me. I was that kid growing up that I grew up on a golf course. So my weekends were setting up a lemonade stand outside, which ironically, as I got older, morphed into lemonade and then Cokes and grilling hot dogs and hamburgers and really just kind of selling whatever we could to golfers. It's something that's been in my mind from the get-go, really. I think anybody that knew me also knew that eventually someday I'd wind up doing something crazy. So here we are.
I love it. The show notes already are off to a great start. I love the childhood lemonade stand that evolved into a food and drink service, finding ways to generate income on your own. From a young age, did you eventually start golfing on this course and then maybe selling some stuff on the course?
I did have an opportunity to golf quite a bit as a kid, summer camps, going down and waking up in the mornings and golfing and that was nice. But as much as I enjoy golfing, that was kind of my grandfather's sport. So it was one of those, it was like, here, we're gonna send you to summer camp. But you know, kind of what really always stoked my fire was, those opportunities to go out boating and chase some fish around or as I got to a little bit older ages, we'd venture all around the state of Florida and go surfing, and which led to points of like trips out to California, Costa Rica, and ironically, it wasn't until later in my life that I found sailing and absolutely just fell head over heels in love with the sport.
And then that love of sailing, I'm sure played a small role in your business idea, your awesome company. Let's learn more about that transition.
Um, so Soul Pines started in 2013, and the real goal of the brand and the retail establishment was to bring in multiple vendors and create this kind of mecca for coastal lifestyle and everything that we live down here in Florida and the Gulf Coast and even out to the islands and up and down the eastern seaboard. But it was largely inspired by my youth, and then also the intersection of there weren't really any stores here in Tampa at that time that were offering kind of the product mix that we were looking to go for. And of course, as with any business, it kind of has evolved over the years.
You touched on a lot of great things there. Feeling a need and also following your passion. Two things that I've seen from entrepreneurs come on this show find their way to be the cream of the crop. You're doing both those things. How much does being passionate about what you're doing play into how you can carry this on since 2013?
Um, I think the passion is important. You obviously have to love what you do. I think that the passion really drives a little bit more of like the creativity and the all of the inspiration and everything that you want to turn into an actual tangible or experience, and put that out in front of your customers and allow them to enjoy it. You're bringing together a lot of people with really similar mindsets and passions as well, and you're just trying to create products and an environment that speaks to them also.
I love that. Is this products tailored for a certain age group, certain demographic, or who do you target the most?
um you know I approach the business really kind of there's multiple customers. So you have multiple customer stories. You've got people of all ages, all demographics, and everybody kind of, in your marketing, you speak to them a little bit differently. But the most important driving factor behind our brand is kind of the psychographics. It's what people are into, what their passions are, and knowing like where you're going to reach those people. So for our customers, it makes sense for us to get in front of people that are in waterfront communities. We also know that boat shows are great resources, regattas, and then really a lot of other huge successes we have are like your annual like holiday shopping events, things like that. But focusing on coastal regions, you go where your people are, right?
I love that. And you mentioned something even before that, just targeting exactly who you're going to talk to. You mentioned connecting with people with these waterfront properties, waterfront areas. How do you go about doing your R&D for choosing really how you're going to spend your time marketing to these people? Like where exactly you're going to go next?
We've kept it really kind of local for the time being. But the big I'd say overlap for any of our customers is they like being on or near the water, you know, and it's whether they're in the backyard, cooking out. There's a lot of heavy water inspiration. They like going to the beach. They probably own a boat, um, whether it's power or sail. They're the people that, all over the state of Florida, if they can pick anything to do on a Sunday afternoon, they're probably going to be sitting out on a sandbar hanging out with friends.
I love that. Well, you're finding ways to connect with your customers. You really touched on how psychographics play a huge part for this catalyst to brand. I want to talk about what we talked. I want to discuss what we chatted about, excuse me, right before the show started. How you shared this awesome story of how a t-shirt to promote some sales maybe turned into a whole new opportunity.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. It's I never thought when we started the business we'd be where we're at now. we talked about two factors that account for success in business, but there's a third factor, and that's having experience. I grew up in retail. I spent a ton of time in retail. It's what I knew. So going into the business, I felt very comfortable opening a retail store, and we approached it from it was going to be a model of we were going to buy from the best brands and put together this awesome product mix and just sell it out of the store. Um, and then one day we decided to run a marketing promotion to where if people came into the store and spent $100, we were going to give them a free shop T-shirt that we have printed at a local printer. Um, we opened the store that morning, and out of the first 7 or 10 people, three guys came in, and they're like, "Well, I don't really want to spend $100, but I really like that T-shirt. Can I just buy one?" And that started this whole journey of, well, man, people like the brand for the store that we've created. Um, Maybe we've done something very unintentional here. So, over the course of 10 years, there's been this experience of just, our fantastic customers constantly pulling and saying, we want more of Salt Pine's product. What can you make us? And that's evolved from shop t-shirts to now, we're producing, you know, tech shirts and still a great assortment of t-shirts, hats, performance polos, and we're just continually working on expanding that product mix that we're able to offer. Exciting things coming down the pipe because we've focused on building some fantastic relationships with some key manufacturing plants and factories that are located down in Peru and some other countries, and that's allowing us those resources to really create from scratch some really awesome pieces for our collection.
I look forward to seeing it all come to life. What's one piece? Can we give a teaser to our audience right now? One thing that's coming their way?
Oh man, we are working on some really exciting Pima cotton offerings, from a self-collared polo to just your normal t-shirt, but elevating a little bit. It's a lot of focus on making sure that the fit and the feel of the fabric is at the forefront of what we're doing.
Again, keeping the customer at the forefront of your decision making. It's great to learn all about this company. I want to now transition to a question I brought back. I started the journey of this podcasting career with asking entrepreneurs if you could choose any entrepreneur throughout history, dead or alive, to sit down with, whether have a coffee or go do something with to pick their brain, who would you choose and why?
Oh, um, there's so many options. Like you can't ask like a top five, or it's.
Anyone who comes to mind, who's someone you'd like to sit down with?
I think probably casually, maybe Chip, the founder of Lululemon. Um,
Talk about that.
you, it's he's got an interesting journey because he had a different apparel brand before founding Lululemon, and Lulu makes great products, but having very close relationships with several people that have worked for Lulu or are still there. Um, I think one of the most impressive achievements that that company has had is keeping such a great culture and workplace environment for its team, even through scaling and scaling quickly. Um, and that's a hard thing to do. If when you're a small team and you're managing a handful of people, it's really easy to have that culture, but having that transcend through a massive business, um, it's tough, and leading and managing that culture through tough times like we've seen over the past, decade. Um, so having a background in retail from very large companies and seeing the dynamics of how culture plays into those businesses and leading it to success or challenges, if you will, they've hit a home run there. So it's a conversation of how'd you do it? What are your core values, and how do you identify the right people and manage expectations downstream to where everybody is keeping just a customer forward focus, and the outstanding teamwork that they have.
Delve a little deeper. Where would this meeting go down if you could pick the location too?
You know, I like walking and talking.
Me too.
Fitting my love for the water. There's a couple of places, you could have a nice little stroll down a really quiet beach and have an actual like solid conversation, a very relaxing environment. Being a Tampa guy, it's another great place to escape, and when you're in the thick of it is, taking a stroll down the river walk too. So maybe one of those spots.
Certainly resonate with you there. And I actually do the same thing. I take my breaks by taking walks. You get that sunlight, the natural noises and everything. It's always a mood elevator, and it's always a great excuse to not stare at the computer. But before we sign off and we get your contact info, where to find you online, all that good stuff, is there anything else you'd like to share regarding your company before we sign off?
Um, just come visit our store in High Park if you're ever in Tampa. And otherwise, you can catch us online, or saltpines.com, or, social media handles, or just Salt Pines. We're on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much everywhere you can find us.
Hey, I think it would be pretty cool before we sign off. We didn't talk about this. What led to Salt Pines, the name creation? Why'd you choose that name?
Oh man, so this was it means a lot to me, but it's also like it was very much a business decision. So in the ideation for what we were going to call the business, we started out with a list of like 50 names. And when you're going through that process, there's certain criteria that you need to have. It's um, and going through business school twice at University of Tampa, definitely, and some great mentors put all of these little nuggets in my head. But when you're creating a business and a brand, the first thing that you need to check for is, can you actually protect your intellectual property and your brand? So are you infringing on somebody else's trademark, or how easily can you actually trademark your business? So that was like checkbox number one, going through this list of like 50 businesses, or the names. And then, you go through the other qualifications, like, can you get the URL? Can you get the social media handles? Can you actually build a compelling like marketing channel and make it easy for people to find you? So of those lists of 50 names that we brainstormed that were like great ideas that we could call and reflect so well on our environment, the only one that met all of those criteria was Salt Pines. Um, the name Salt Pines we derived that because here on the Gulf Coast, we've got a ton of what are actually called Australian longleaf pines. But they're littered on our spoil islands. They're all on our beaches, the ones that haven't been like crazy developed. And what's cool about these Australian longleaf pines is their needles are so long. Like growing up, we'd go and like, camp on the spoil islands that are on our intercoastal, or go out to like Anklo Key. And when you get the sea breeze going and it's flowing through these trees, it creates a sound that is, it's magical. I don't think I've heard it any other place in the world, and I've traveled a lot of places. So overall, it was kind of like that perfect scenario, perfect storm of like all these criteria coming together. But at the same time, got to check the business boxes, right?
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. It certainly seems like it fits perfectly. And congratulations one more time on all your success, all you've accomplished. Now, starting in 2013, here we are recording this, going live in summer 2024. It is not easy to sustain for a decade. He's found a way to do it. Thanks again for your time, and let's keep in touch. Everyone out there, be sure to go check out his website. He's going to share it one more time for us.
Allpines.com.
There it is. Thanks again, man.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too.